start the recording there, and then I will just be a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, that's fine. And these are very average games for me.
Okay. That works. That's what we want. Okay, like they were kind of acquiring the Ana there. It's getting in some spam. It's good. Nice, you already got a pick. Okay, looking good. Minor thing might have been like maybe approaching slightly faster. Nothing major.
Here it comes.
All right.
Find their weakness and claim the objective. Enemy contact. Oh. I need assistance.
Okay, very nice.
Don't waste my time.
Well, first point went seemed to go smoothly. Having my eye on a couple things, but we'll keep going.
Yeah, and feel free to say, hey, you know, your aim could be better. You know, I'm very aware.
Yeah, well, I mean, that we'll work on some way, possibly work on some ways that it could be better here. All right. I guess to begin with, let's talk about flicking a little bit. So, generally speaking, right, flicking is anytime your crosshair needs to travel somewhere very, very fast, right? And it's anytime you're moving your camera around very, very fast, your crosshair around very, very fast. And there's only certain instances when that is needed, and there's certain instances where it's not needed. So instances where flicking is needed is like, let's say there's a fast moving target. So if there's a tracer blinking around you, then you might need to flick around, right? Tracer blinks behind you, you gotta flick around really fast to shoot the tracer, right? If someone sneaks up behind you, gotta flick around really fast to shoot the person behind you. If you're acquiring a new target, right? So we're aimed down here, all of a sudden someone's up on the high ground, we gotta flick up to the high ground really fast, right? But if you're already aiming at somebody, then flicking can be unnecessary when you could keep like you can either track them or keep it a little bit more still. And then sometimes if you're flicking too much, then that can kind of mess with your aim a little bit, throw off your shots unnecessarily. So in general, I just watch for too much over flicking when it's not needed, and then make sure you're still flicking when it is needed. And Ashe in general is a character. She is going to be able to get away with more flicking than some other characters can, but in general, still I'm still seeing a little bit maybe in some situations where it's not needed, which can lead to we're aiming at them and then we're now off the target, that sort of idea. Nothing incredibly major so far. Your mechanics seem generally okay, or generally good. I'll say good, not okay.
Well, okay, I appreciate that. I think it's a little generous, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Well, you'd be surprised at some people's aim. All right. All right, so we are going to discuss two things there. So firstly, let's discuss target priority in this fight. So target priority, and maybe it's a little bit early to be going in depth on it, but we'll go in depth on it. That's fine. Target priority is essentially who do you want to be looking at and why do you want to be looking at them, right? And in generally speaking, you want to look at the easiest things to kill because the easiest things to kill will actually die and stay dead. Now, in general, the tanks are the hardest things to kill. They have shields and armor and 2 to 3 times the health of other characters, and they have tanking abilities, etc. So tanks are very difficult to kill. They're the hardest in the game, and then therefore we don't want to probably spend most of our time shooting at them if we can help it. And generally, and that's not to say that we never shoot at them. We can shoot at them when they're low, out of position. We have an opportunity to kill them, or if they're the really only thing we can shoot at, because they're like, let's say, D.Va flies into our face, right? And then that leads into kind of two ways that you can shoot other characters. So firstly, you have equal opportunity. So here, for example, you have equal opportunity to either shoot at the Mercy or the Reinhardt, or pretty much equal opportunity to shoot at the Bastion or the Ana as Reinhardt and D.Va, right? Pretty much you have the exact same opportunity, right? And then the second thing is that you can actively seek out other characters. So let's say you couldn't see Ana and Bastion, it would be making sure that you're actively seeking out these characters rather than these characters. So in this fight, we come into the fight, and the first target who we're acquiring, which isn't like, it's not atrocious, it's not super bad, but the first person we're looking at is the Reinhardt, right? And he's just, again, he's on their team, going to be the hardest thing to kill, whereas we might have wanted to, for example, just peek the edge here and start shooting at Bastion, right? Who might be a little bit easier to kill than Reinhardt. So does that make, we can go more in depth on that if we need to, but is that making sense for the moment?
Yes, definitely does.
All right, so then let's continue. So the second thing here is that we throw a bob in. So I would say that is decent bob placement, okay timing, but it could be better. And let me explain two different ways that this could be better. So firstly, this with the placement, right? Placement wise, notice how we're kind of placing it smack dab in the middle. So this makes it, when we're doing this, again, it's not bad because it does have a lot of visibility over everything. But typically when you throw a bob, you want it to be to the side or behind their team. Right, and the reason why you want to do that is because that gets Bob what you call an off angle, and this is an off angle is going to be very good for multiple reasons. Firstly, it gets Bob around all of the things we just talked about. It gets him around the shields and the tanks, etc. If it's in their backline. So, for example, let's say just pick out a better spot. What if we had thrown Bob more so like here, right, or into this, right, something like that. Okay, now it's behind their team, so it's getting rather than shooting at Reinhardt, right, or something like that, it's shooting at their backline. Okay, now additionally, this also creates a crossfire effect where now their team is going, who do we shoot at? Do we shoot at Bob? Do we shoot at their team? And this distracts them. It's always going to be beneficial for you because it's going to cause confusion and splitting of attention and resources, right? So it's just going to get Bob to be on the, and it's also probably going to let them see more stuff because they can't, if they back up towards Bob, then they're backing into Bob. If they go towards your team, they're going to your team. If you put Bob in the front, then they can just back up away from Bob and get around the corner. Additionally, they can melt him easier if he's in the front because they can all look at him and shoot him. So all different things. Place him usually behind and then sometimes to the side, not kind of in the frontish because the only person in front of Bob is Reinhardt. Now, another thing is the timing. Right now, we are basically, I would say, the fight has not begun yet. You can see kind of the separation between the two teams right now.
Yep.
This is kind of the right before fight starts phase. This is still in between fights, and typically I'd recommend, in very rare situations, will you ult in the in-between fight phase because now they have all of their abilities still. So Ana has sleep to sleep Bob, and they can all shield and get away from Bob. So Bob, if they don't have abilities or ultimates, whatever, they can't really stop Bob nearly as well, right? They also are going to have no additional distractions, and they're not going to be busy shooting at other people, right? Your team's not there to help out, so therefore they can probably back away from Bob and shoot him and kill him super easily or get away from him, etc. Right? They can just wait him out, right? Something along those lines. Okay, so he's not going to be getting as much value, and then additionally, even if he did get like a kill or something like that, then kind of the fight starts, and then they have ultimates for when the fight actually begins, and then that's usually when the fight is happening is where ultimates get the most value. So in general, I'd probably recommend wait till the fight begins and then throw your ultimate, which you can usually tell. The big one is like how close teams are to each other. And then you can also see like, okay, how many ultimates are happening or kills happening, etc. But right now the fight has not begun. So just again to give you a quick overview of it, beginning a fight is usually where you want to ult. Mid fight is okay, or is good. That's a good option. Late fight is situational, and then in between fights is usually very rare. It can happen, but it's rarer. Okay. Once again, is that all making sense?
Yes, it is.
All right. Glad to hear it. So now, for example, you can see right exactly as I said. Slept, shielded. They all back off, and then he doesn't do anything. Right.
Yep.
Now, for some reason, Diva woke him up, but this is, I believe you said, bronze or silver?
Yeah. It's below. Well, this is a quick play,
Mm.
so internal MMR.
Yeah. Okay. Here, Diva booped us off high ground.
Do something.
Uh-oh. Might boot, like, while you're falling, could have maybe boosted yourself back up here, and that way you can kind of maintain the high ground advantage. I like that you did take high ground. That was good.
Here it comes.
On the topic of some mechanics, your aim seems maybe slightly jittery. What sensitivity and DPI are you working with?
Actually pretty low.
Pretty
I
low?
think
Okay.
I think sense is our DPI is like 800
hmm
and sensitivity controls is 10.
Okay. That I would if you do 10 times 800, which is your EDPI, the both of those combined, I would say that that is around. Yeah. So you have 800 EDPI. I would say that's maybe like right on the edge between a medium to high. So I'd say maybe like a medium high sensitivity.
Okay.
Um, so that's not atrocious, right? Like I've had, for example, people who are like up in the 30,000 range, and they do so when I do like 1 360, they do like 10 360s, right?
Mhm.
That's where it's like, okay, you probably want to make a change. Here, not as bad, though I might recommend even lowering it further to like a low sensitivity, as generally the gaming community agrees that lower sensitivities just lead to some more accuracy and pixel perfect shots because you have more control over your shots. Though do note that that would require you to have a little bit of it. Just make sure you have a large enough mouse pad to accommodate.
Mhm.
And then at a very minimum with sensitivity, you should be able to do from left to right of your mouse space, right? One full 360. That way you're able to actually make turns well. So that I would just maybe recommend it. It's not terrible, just might help out a little bit. And then we will have maybe a little bit of a bigger thing to go over in a second.
Smoke 'em out of there.
Or yeah.
What would
Let's see.
you I mean,
hmm
you're saying that's upper, that's medium to high?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have 8,000. Mine, for example, is like 3,600. So you basically it's just like two times. So like when I do a
Right.
360, you do two. That's not terrible. Um, essentially. I have 800 DPI. My sensitivity in game is like 4.5. You don't have to copy that. Like that's not something that everyone is different. Everyone's unique with it. Like try out a bunch of different ones and just mess around with it. Like in a training range, don't expect it to feel good instantly, but try it out for
Mhm.
like 2 days or so, and then if you know if you're not feeling it still, then you maybe swap it up. But yeah, it's really I just recommend getting a little bit lower, and then like I said, have that be your minimum is the 360. Um, and then yeah, lower could probably help a little bit. So,
Okay.
eh, mhm.
Helden sterben nicht.
Okay. So notice maybe like right coming into this fight, um, let's real quick just pick out on our team, right? So noting that even among DPS and supports and whatnot, even among those characters, there still are easier and harder characters to kill, right? So like for
Yep.
example, in our game, who is going to be harder to kill, a Bastion or a Ashe?
No, definitely it. The Bastion.
Yeah,
Slightly harder, yeah.
yeah, and then who's gonna be harder to kill, a Mercy or an Ana?
I would say Mercy
Yeah,
because of her mobility.
I'd maybe say it like I would probably tend to agree. Maybe it depends on like the situation. Like does Ana have abilities? Is
Right.
how what opportunities do you have? But yeah, they're around even with maybe Mercy being slightly harder, right? So you can kind of come up with this hierarchy in your head. So far we've pretty much exclusively been shooting at the Reinhardt, the Diva, and the Bastion, right? Like those are our top three so far of who we're shooting at. So therefore, we're struggling to really accomplish, right? We're getting damage out there, but we're not really getting kills. We're not able to accomplish things. So if you're trying to pick up more kills than your wife, right, probably recommend swapping up who we're aiming at in general. So like for example here, just really easy, swap from Reinhardt to Ashe, and then that's an easy kill, right? So this you can just relook at this whole fight, and it's just like tank, 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 right? This whole time. Additionally, might recommend. I don't know. You're aware just to check. You're aware you can coach gun to like use it to get high. I'm sorry, vertical mobility. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I
Yeah.
came into this building, I didn't have a solid idea of like what I wanted
Yeah.
to do yet. So I
hmm
just kind of it wasn't a deliberate like, hey, I'm not going to coach my gun. It's like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
looking for where they are
Mhm.
mostly.
Yeah, which like here, for example, we can just like coach come straight down, and then now boom, we're on the high ground. This is even better than
Yep.
it's higher up, more visibility, whatnot. But then from up here, we can see literally every single thing, right? Every character.
Hmm.
We can also from here, right? We lock on the bash, and like first and foremost, or maybe like we can peek further to the side and see these guys, right? That sort of idea. And the bash is not terrible. Like he's probably like the third hardest to kill, right? Not
Hmm.
absolutely terrible, but like he's in the middle. All right, then we see Ashe, and we see Ashe right there. We see those guys on the left, and then we acquire the Diva, right? And then we swap from the Diva to the Reinhardt, right? Ashe is still on the side.
Whew. That's done.
Okay, when you're low, I'd recommend request healing. That's gonna get you healing faster, get your supports to look at you. So make it a habit to request that. Okay, still Reinhardt, right? Not again, not he was lower there, but just noting
I
it.
need healing.
There you go. See, as soon as you press it, Shauna turns around.
Hey.
Okay.
I'm under attack. Here it comes. This will be surrender to my will.
Oh, be careful about who we're running into.
Yeah, I was not. I didn't see him. I certainly wasn't expecting Reinhardt to be there, so I just backed off. But then at the same time, I'm like, what is he doing up here? I thought maybe he was like looking for like a shatter opportunity, so I
Yeah,
kind of kept waiting for him to drop.
he's looking
And
for back pin, something like that. All right, maybe we could retake high ground there. So now that we got the pick, but same main.
Yep.
Notice, right? First target. We have a bunch of other opportunities on our screen, right? Ana, Ashe, Mercy, right? And then we over the
Yep.
Diva, right? So it's just noting that, right? Once again, I'm not gonna keep on harping on it. Just note that it seems to be a continual pattern. So I will maybe very briefly mention it, but then that's about it from that one, right?
Okay.
I will maybe go in depth on more in depth on it, but I'm not gonna just keep bringing it up. So we'll move on to some other things.
It's definitely a tendency. Sometimes I do it deliberately to build up Bob really quickly,
Yeah,
but you're right.
and
I
that's
do.
and that's fine, though that should be in only really in two cases. One, if we're like really close to Bob, and we don't really have another like if we don't if Ash isn't 1 HP and about to die, then we're 86, we might want to build up Bob, so shooting at tanks would be fine, right? That'd be a
Hmm.
situation where you can do it if you're trying to get Bob really fast. And then maybe like if you're poking in between fights, it's not as bad, right? But
Yep.
not something that we want to be just doing on a regular basis, which is what's happening.
For sure.
Okay, there you go with the coach. Good job. Okay. Make sure requesting healing. Probably want to be engaging at 38 HP. Kind of weren't really acknowledging the Mercy who was standing like right in front of us there, right?
Right.
We weren't even really trying to shoot at her at all. Probably could be bobbing here because the fight definitely has started, right? Look at kind of what's happening over here. If we toss Bob in, like we're about to cap as well, right? If we toss in Bob
Hmm.
and put him like in the corner here, he's probably gonna start to do some good work. So probably getting Bob out there sooner rather than later is gonna be a good idea. Requesting healing once again. Right. Oh, there you go. Bob's in the corner. But we're 1 HP, which is an issue. Okay, so we're actually gonna go over some aim stuff. So let's discuss it.
Are you saying? Are you trying to say my
Yes.
aim is not perfect? Is that what you're
Yes.
implying? Okay.
All right. So we are going to go over something called crosshair placement. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yes, I am familiar, and I still do not do it very well.
Yeah. So we'll re-walk through the concept, and then just we'll talk maybe about some application if that's something that's needing to be worked on. Real quick, just crosshair placement, right? Crosshair placement's making your shots easy on yourself, making it so that you're more consistent, and your shots just are going to happen more frequently. So first major step to this is actually aiming at head level, because headshots do basically 2 times the damage as body shots. So headshots are very, very important to hit, and therefore to hit them the easiest, we want to go from aiming down here to aiming up at head level, because when we do that, then just naturally, right, we're just shooting down a corridor. If we just doing that, then we just we hit body shots, right? It just comes naturally hit body shots. Whereas if we are aiming at head level, then now we just naturally start hitting headshots. It's just going to come natural. Now, additionally, you also have pre-aiming, right? So that's aiming where you know people are going to be. So bots top right, we're aiming at head level, top right. So as soon as the bot turns the corner, headshots, easy peasy. Same thing. We know the bot's on left, so instead of coming out and doing a slow pan to the left, we're going to come out already aiming head level, left side. So we come out, hit those shots immediately. These guys are on a slope, so the same way we look down on a torb and up on a tank, we're going to look down on these guys. So we turn the corner, pretty much aiming straight at their head, a little adjustment, right? And then that leads to easy shots, which in turn lead to more kills. Now, I'm seeing just a little bit of like up and down movement. I think generally we tend to kind of adjust and keep to like the chest level, right? Which isn't as bad as aiming here. Some people aim here, but still want to be just up an extra inch, right? Making sure we're actually hitting those headshots. And then application, because you said, okay, I know it, I know how to like how it works, what it is, but still not doing it fantastically. So let's discuss the how do you actually look to work on the things that we are discussing here, and that's something I try to do with everybody. So you're trying to apply the things you're trying to work on. So let's take, for example, crosshair placement, and you're trying to work on crosshair placement. How you do it is the exact same way that you do anything else you're trying to work on, and that is that you're going to make sure that you're actively thinking about it while you're playing. So you're not going to just play to play, you're not going to autopilot, and contrary to popular belief, you're not going to purely play to win, as when you do that, you just end up, purely playing to, get more kills, right? Then that just leads to stagnation, whereas playing to improve actually gets you more wins and more kills. Now, what that looks like within your gameplay is you are going to make sure that while you are playing, you're going to be thinking in your head, crosshair placement, crosshair placement, crosshair placement, aim, 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 right? Mechanics. And then when you give yourself that constant stream of reminders to think about placing your crosshair, well then, because you're thinking about it constantly, you're probably going to be doing it a little bit more than you were before, right? And then your crosshair placement will be better. When you do that for a long enough period of time, it forms it as a positive habit. Once it forms as a positive habit, then it's not something you need to really worry about as much anymore. It comes more naturally, right? And then you can look to work on something else, and that is the improvement process. Now, I would recommend, don't try to do everything all at once. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. That'll get overwhelming. So work on one category of things, or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. So does that all make sense?
Yep, sure does.
All right, so let's hop back into the game then.
Welcome to Holly Ready for Battle.
Alright, so we're like back here. Okay, nice, we swapped targets, that's good. Nice, we heard the National, that's good. Still probably be requesting healing.
Patched up. Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei. Surrender to my will. Taking damage.
Okay, notice some of the target priority still, right? Bastion, 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 Ryan. Well, now Reinhardt is low, but maybe we can go for the Dynamite here, right, as well. Additionally, we don't seem to be kind of paying attention to what's happening in the fight currently. Let's see, like, I just want to see how we keep going here, and then I may discuss it. Alright, so a little bit slow to back out. Nice, we got a pick. That's good. Okay, so they didn't push us. We didn't get punished for it. Be careful though, because that fight was lost a little while ago, and we stayed in
Mhm.
there. Not sure if we need to go into it fully. We can, but maybe we'll look for a better scenario for it.
Awareness is definitely something I struggle with.
Mhm.
So I'm like I don't tend to look at the kill feed as much as I
Yeah.
should. So sometimes like, oh hey, my team lost this fight comes as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, so then let's since you are saying that is something you struggle with, right? Let's
Yep.
talk about how to analyze when do you know you've won or lost the fight, and then from there the application process is the same, making sure that you are reminding yourself to actually look at kill feed while you're playing, right? So kill feed tells you when you're up or down people. This is not the full extent of how to tell, but it is the basics of how to tell. You can get more advanced with it. We won't for the moment. But how do you tell? Now, when you are up or down, 1 to 2 people that you see in kill feed, that is an advantage or a disadvantage, right? So in those cases, you play more aggressive or more passive. When you are up or down 2 to 3 people, at that point, then it is a won or lost fight, right? So when you are and then in those cases, right, like if you've won the fight, you look to get more aggressive. When you've lost the fight, you look to get out if you can, or you let them kill you if you cannot. And then finally, after that, just make sure you're not using ultimates as well, right, in one or lost fights. So it's really just paying
Hmm.
attention to the numbers. And then again, like I said, there's more to it, but that's the basics for it. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, so we can keep on going. Uh-oh, D- Diva Bomb here.
Yeah. This is probably just like map awareness, like
Yeah.
just
Dropping down here, Coach. I probably just recommend in general, no matter where you're. Also, like just even just doing this, right? Um, in general, though, I'm noticing maybe a slight lack of coach gun usage for mobility. That's
okay.
actually going to be one of the main ways that you do use coach gun. There are some other uses, like you can use it to boot people away and to do a little bit of extra damage once in a while. But the primary usage of coach gun is for mobility, to get somewhere faster, or even more than that, to take high grounds, to get vertical mobility. So
Mhm.
here, if we're trying to get away from the bomb sooner, use your coach gun. So I would turn around here and coach gun in the opposite direction of the way you're trying to go. So if you're trying to go for this corner, do a quick turnaround, coach gun, and then you're around the corner, right? Um,
Yep.
so coach gun usage, also just paying attention to where bomb is, cover.
Squid needs more seasoning. Allow me to repair the damage. Dein Teufel ist da. Smoke him out. Enemy's being revived. Bob, do something. Not ready. I require assistance. This is going to hurt.
Okay, some of the target priority here, a
You need
little
to
bit
learn
off.
the rules.
Still,
Here it comes. Surrender to my will.
okay. Once again, probably just mercy. All right.
Halo's moves towards our design.
Oh, Doomfist missed while we were standing still. Watch standing still. Keep your ears open because we didn't seem to know Doomfist was on us until after he was on us. So make sure you're keeping your ears open and watching for it as well. All right,
Yep.
one game.
Victory.
Not too shabby. Let's move on. Oh, wrong thing here.
Now traveling to Busan.
This one is I would say like a little rougher. I think it was
All right.
getting dived a little more, if
Mm-hmm.
memory serves. So that's something I also kind of struggle with. Doom in particular,
Mm-hmm.
like if he dives in, if he engages without his rocket punch, a coach gun, he'll just rocket punch back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, in a lot of the cases, like if you're talking about like you're not able to kill him, in a lot of cases you're not gonna be able to kill him unless you have a ton of team support because he just
Hmm.
has superior mobility. Most of the time when he comes in, you're looking to survive it and then just continue to do your thing after you're alive, right?
Yep.
So survival, right? There's multiple different ways you can survive. Maybe we can take a look at some of those while we go through here.
Here it comes.
The objective is now active.
Okay. So here, firstly, we do end up getting the kill, but just noting that once again it's the Roadhog, so just very rarely is it anything else. But more than that, here notice some of the cover usage we're not using cover at all.
Right.
Generally speaking, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. And here we just have an absence cover, so just doing something like this is the exact same thing, except for now we have cover, where we can do this with, and therefore not take damage. So watch out for that. Okay. Additionally, probably request healing.
I need healing.
Yeah, there you go. And then also paying attention to the fight to notice that you don't have healers.
At that moment, I realized the fight was lost, and I
Yeah.
was
Or
probably done for.
yeah, I'd probably say it's like massive disadvantage unless we pop off and get a kill or two.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the how in getting in getting to the characters we want to shoot at, right? So when it comes to target priority, right? There's the what of like who do, or I guess the who, right? Who do you want to shoot at? But there's also the how of how do I actually shoot at the people I want to shoot at, right?
Right.
We talked about equal opportunity. Equal opportunity is simple, right? Equal opportunity just means they're both in your face. But there's also active. They're not always gonna have equal opportunity. In fact, that's usually, it might not even be the case because the tanks are usually gonna be in your face, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is actively seeking out those other characters. Now, how do you do that? We're gonna discuss it right now. So if this enemy team is right there, our team is right here. This is what you would call the main angle, right? If we shoot down here, we're shooting into the tanks, the shields, etc. Right? A lot of stuff we don't want to. Now,
Yep.
we could just very, very easily do this, and then now we've instantly gotten around the problem, right? We can.
Mhm.
This gets us around the shields, the tanks, everything we don't want to shoot at, straight to the back line, right? And then this is what you call an off angle. It's a different angle from the main angle, right? So you can, as another example, even if we're just doing this one, we can just wrap around to the right side here, and then we can get around the shields this way. We can take a high ground, and then we give you another example here. But usually off angles are very fast and they're very safe, right? Is what off angles are. So once again, enemy team, our team, main angle, right? Real quick, 2 seconds, right? Now we're up, just gotten past every single obstacle straight to their back line, right above them. High
Mhm.
grounds all out act as natural off angles as long as we are above them. If they're all the way over there, then not really because they can still shield you and whatnot. But if we're above them, then acts as a natural off angle. As other advantages, high grounds also all act as cover, right? They can see you. No, they can't. See you. No, you can't. And then most characters in the game can't reach you on a high ground, right? 2/3 need to take the stairs, and then the other third that can, they need to use abilities, and then now they're out of abilities if they get to you. And then finally, additionally, you have tons of visibility, right? So we can see here, 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 here. But if we're on a low ground, not over there, not over there, none of the high grounds, right? So high
Yep.
ground is fantastic. Look to take it as often as possible. We really only took it like, I guess we kind of took it on and off in the last game a little bit. Could have been there more. Could have been maybe on some better high grounds than we were. And then, because there are different degrees of how good a high ground is. And then additionally in this, I mean, just noting it, maybe if you're taking off angles is the big thing because we keep going down, just kind of down main, and then that means that we're not able to actually shoot at the things we want to. Nope, wrong one.
Now traveling to Busan. Ready for battle.
Probably recommend open up with the dynamite there, especially when it's a Genji who's gonna be jumping around, very difficult to hit.
Mhm.
You can also deflect. Dynamite can be really handy against, especially him. But then even probably no matter who you're in a duel with, dynamite's a really good thing to open up with because it's just easy, consistent damage.
The battle continues. Here it comes. I'm taking care of him.
Attack the objective. Right away.
Sometimes you be careful because I'm noticing sometimes we will end up wasting a lot of our shots. We'll just go bam, 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 bam. and kind of do a rapid fire and then miss like 6 out of 8, right? And then we end up
Yeah.
wasting our entire mag. I'll just be a little bit careful with that. That's not bad, but really the only time you want to be doing that is if you're like sure that you're actually gonna hit those shots, because otherwise you're just wasting all of your ammo that you could be using. So definitely be shooting like as fast as yeah. So like especially with the left click when you can shoot like insanely fast with it and then just burn all of your ammo all at once. When you're scoped in, not as big of a deal if you're shooting fast, but I'd say is especially notable when you're doing your unscoped shots, is we'll just burn through a lot of ammo and then not really hit, like for example like that where we'll just go bang 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 and then just miss all of them. Additionally here, just pay attention where your crosser's at, because when we're yeah, I guess we're just noting that it has a little bit of a drop off as well, because we kind of throw it and then hits the turtle head.
Yeah, unlucky.
All right, so off angle, right? Right side, you know, maybe climb up on this little dude, right? You can parkour up here. Here,
I didn't
right?
even
Just
think to get there. Yeah.
yeah, you can climb up this little thing, straight up here, right? You can see pretty much you know, you can see there's end. You can see get some better angles, right? Left side, better angles, right? Even just coming off to the side a little bit, better angles, but we're kind of setting off to the main still, right? And then that just gives us very limited angles to work with and kind of not shooting at the things you wanna. Oh, nice.
I get the idea. Do something.
Okay. Careful about using Bob when you see that they just trans 2 seconds ago, right? Or 1 second ago.
Yep.
Because then Bob's not going to do anything for the first little bit of his ult, and then that gives them all time to get away from Bob or kill him or sleep him or whatever, right? So yeah, that's the thing. Big thing I'd say there.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
Where are we at?
I am on a roll. I'll be right there. My ultimate is
I'm on
almost ready.
fire.
Pardon me. Barrier activated. Enemies detected.
Nano is almost ready.
Here it comes.
Very nice. Oh ho ho!
I
Massive.
don't know how that happened. Yeah. How the dynamite killed the Mercy also. That was a Sonic arrow. I didn't see Hanzo
It's unfortunate.
put up. So that hog was a total surprise.
Yeah.
My
Taking damage.
walk it off.
Okay, it's good. We're coming in on the left. I like it. Engaging with the dynamite. Do you notice that like every time we throw dynamite, we'll go tap 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 with our
Heroes
left
never
click? So
die.
watch that. I would probably tap once, and then if you see that you miss, then tap again, right? But like every
Okay.
time we're just in the habit of going tap tap tap, right? So
Smoke 'em out
tap
there.
tap, right? So that there was 2. Not massive, but still a thing. Request healing. Get people to look at you. Very nice.
I stick up for my crew. Nano boost administered.
Dynamite. Sometimes I think I noticed that we'll use dynamite maybe to open up, but then we'll forget about it mid-fight. Uh-oh. And then making sure we're watching the dragons, because firstly, listen for it. Make sure you're listening for it, being aware of it. And then secondly, when you do hear it, watch for it. Audio awareness settings real quick. So sound, firstly, recommend that make sure you actually have your volume up. This is very subjective because everybody has their own headset volumes, but make sure it is loud enough to actually hear things. Music volume, I would recommend turn off if you can, or sorry, turn it off or low, because typically that can just clutter with audio. And then finally, big one here is make sure check your headset settings and check to see if you have a surround sound enabled. And if you do not have it enabled, or sorry, if it's not an option, go to in-game and turn on Dolby Atmos for headphones, because that's the in-game version of it, and that gives you sound that surrounds you. And then you still will not have great audio awareness if you're not actively listening for stuff. So make sure you're listening for gunshots and abilities and ultimates and footsteps and whatnot, so that we hear the dragon coming and we don't get caught off guard by it. And then we also do see it, and then we kind of walk into it a little bit.
Yeah, I did hear it,
I get the idea.
but I honestly thought I was safe where I was right until the moment
Yeah.
I realized I definitely was not.
Yeah, I'd pretty much always look for it.
Fire in the hole. This will restore.
Attack the objective.
And then I was trying to get on point,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's why I rushed in.
Mhm.
This will restore.
Attack the objective.
2, 1.
I have sighted the enemy.
Get in here.
Help me. Smoke
Like,
them
notice,
out.
for example, how we'll kind of just, like, keep on firing when we don't have anything in our crosshair. So we'll go tap when Mori's around the corner, tap when
Yep.
nothing's there, tap. That one's fine, right? It's just a miss, right? We'll then go pow, and then he's around the corner, and then we'll go tap, right? So, why this is something that I comment on sometimes. I'd say this is more common on Ana players they'll say this with, but sometimes essentially, I'm not going to dock you brownie points because you're missing a shot. That happens to everybody. No one has perfect aim, right? I of course don't hit all my shots, right? You might even miss half of your shots or more, something like that, right? You're gonna miss a lot of shots. But where I'm gonna dock you some brownie points is if if you're shooting when there's just like no reason to shoot, right? Like there's nothing even in the near vicinity of your crosshair, right? Or there's like just a person around the corner. So those are situations where it's just not gonna that's not good have to be in. This isn't anything that's incredibly major, but it's still something that I'd work on. Just a little bit of a bad habit to be in. Okay, and then now by the time you want to shoot at things, we only have one ammo. Make sure you're reloading just anytime you're not shooting. That way anytime you have a lull in time where there's nothing else to do, that way you actually have ammo to work with, because now we only have one shot. Not going to kill anything with one shot.
The objective is now.
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei. Enemy's being revived. Right on schedule.
Request healing once again. Maybe no necessary reason to drop from high ground, right? That just kind of gives up our advantage for free. Still probably request healing. Watch the health bar. Right? That's more awareness. Okay. Alright.
Here it comes.
Okay. Some character acquisition problems, right? Like shooting a hog and a Zarya, when maybe we could coach gun up and shoot the Moira, right? Something like that.
Yep.
Probably want to be reacquiring high ground here. Just coach gun up real quick. That gives us that advantage to work with.
Smoke them out of there.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay.
You need to.
High ground's still here. Maybe a lack of cover until this thing came up. There's a lack of cover. Still gonna be using coach gun just to instantly get there. Reload when we're not shooting at stuff. Use oh, there you go. Use your
Heroes never die.
bomb thingy mabob, right? Dynamite.
Yeah, I definitely don't use that as much as I should.
Yeah, it's just something you pretty much you use it off cooldown. Just anytime you get it up, right? Because you wanna.
Yep.
It's gonna be probably your best source of ultimate charge, just because it's so easy to land. It gets big group damage going. And it's also just gonna be just doing a lot of spam damage, getting you a lot going for you. So just use it as frequently as it's available. Whereas we'll kind of, I say mainly it's mid fight that we'll kind of forget about it, right? Oh, there we go.
I get the idea. Ich bin da. Healing stream engaged.
Okay, so notice a little bit. I want to say it's like super massive. Maybe I'd like call it more micro flicking. But notice just like watch our crosshair and like how we'll kind of do these like really sharp like right, left. It's kind of these swings, right, where we'll kind of go left to right while we're aiming, and then right to left,
Yep.
kind of back and forth, kind of with while we're aiming at people. So, I don't know. You can maybe see it here where we'll aim at Zarya, we'll look at her, and then we'll look away from her to the right, and then we'll look back at her, and then we'll look. Sorry that we're looking down because we're coach gunning.
Somebody get me some
All right, so
healing.
just watching that sort of thing. Maybe it's not necessary in certain instances.
Do
Mhm.
Requesting healing, noting that our current high ground positioning is it's just leaving us a little bit exposed, because even on high grounds, this one, you know, if we're standing smack dab here, not a ton of cover we can use, especially if they go high ground, right?
Yep.
So being aware of that, maybe like standing a little bit further back away from the edge could help out. Once again, requesting healing, that way we're not sitting at 100 HP. When Zarya gets close to us, probably want to coach gun away sooner rather than later, right? Just, and then that way we can maybe look to stay alive.
Let them out.
Okay, probably look to retake high ground immediately. There. Okay. Notice a lot of left click spam wasting shots. Generally speaking, you left click when a couple, you know, you can left click in a couple scenarios. You left click when, usually when people are close to you. You can do it when people, and another big one is like when people are low, or if they're like right on top of you, then you want to use it, because otherwise,
Mhm.
if they're not right on top of you, or sorry, if they are right on top of you, then that means that scoping in probably isn't a good idea, because it'll make you move slower and will not limit your visibility. But then again, right, when things are closer, when they're low HP, we can finish them off really quickly like that. But at ranges, it becomes less accurate because it gets some spread. And then, really, just generally speaking, you don't want to be using it like an insane amount. It's something that you kind of use on the side once in a little bit. I'd probably say you use it slightly more than I'd recommend. Not a ton. Like you might want to split between like kind of maybe like, I don't know, 80-20 from scope to unscoped, something like that. You look more like a 60-40, something like that.
Yeah.
So just maybe less situations, less because it's wasting a lot of your shots, and then look for situations where you actually want to use it.
Hot in here, or is it just me? Felt good when I woke up in the
All right. Watch the ammo because we're coming in here down 4 shots.
Enemies detected.
Nice, nice. You're going high ground. That's good. Okay, launch it. Here we're launching it where we only see one person, right? Really, we're just getting it on the Zarya. If we launch it just like 2 inches to the side, like we aim right here, well, let me get it above literally everybody's heads, right? We just get on
Yep.
top of literally everybody. So just look for something like that, right? Just tiny different ways to see it. Okay, a little bit of a like notice target priority. You know, Briggs on our screen, and we're still shooting a Roadhog. Note that we kind of dropped from high ground unnecessarily. We also don't pay attention to the Genji who's walking back from spawn, so Genji gets a drop on us, right? So make sure
Yep.
we're watching that respawn. So a couple things there.
My ultimate is almost ready. Smoke 'em out of there. Damage increase. Just point me in.
Okay. Notice that we kind of get, you know, shoot at like 5 different targets here, right? We start off on the Hanzo, right? Hanzo, and then we swap to the, I think, Zarya here. And I'm not sure if we're still, because Hanzo, we were throwing a
I
dynamite here.
I was expecting Hanzo to come out the other side there.
Yeah, it's funny though because we threw it before he even moved to move around the corner, right? So we're still aiming for Hanzo, and then we start shooting at Zarya, right? And then we start shooting at Mercy, swap back to Hanzo, then we die, right? So just
Yep.
watch kind of, because when you do that, then you just end up tickling everybody and then never accomplishing anything. Real
Mhm.
swap when swapping's needed, right? When you have opportunities, or when you're on a bad target, right? Then you swap. When it's kind of unnecessary too. Alright, so now we are gonna go and do a quick review over everything. Go over the main points and then wrap up from there. So ability usage, coach gun for vertical mobility and just mobility in general, much more often. Make sure you're using your abilities much more often. Coach Gun's not an off cooldown thing, but Dynamite is, right? Use it every time you get it, pretty much. Open up fights with it. Make sure you're using it mid-fight. And then just make sure we're putting maybe some, like, a little bit of extra effort into landing them, because sometimes they're just off. Overall, probably say that goes to, I don't know if it's enough to say a medium priority. So I'm gonna say maybe like a high end of a low to medium priority for you to work on. Sorry if that's a lot of words. So yeah, just higher end of the bottom.
Got it. Got it.
So moving on to your ultimate usage, ult usage. Just make sure you're putting Bob
I stick up
behind
for
them
my
or to the
crew.
side. Get him off angle with him, like we talked about for yourself. Additionally, don't use them in timing wise. You want to use them at the start of fights. Mid fight is okay. Late fight is situational, and then in between fights is kind of the rare situations where you should. And then so watch that. And then that's pretty much it with Bob. That probably went even lower. That was like a regular low to medium. So maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll I'll bump it up, right? We'll say ability usage is a low end of a medium, and then ultimate usage is a low to medium.
Got it. Got
um,
it.
so
You're gonna
then
have to go to like a number scale or
yeah, yes, I
something.
will. Yep, that'll be at the end. Right now I'm placing it for myself. Then moving on, you have your
Don't waste my time.
mechanics, crosshair placement, keep up crosshair placement, aim where you know people are gonna be, pre-aiming as well as head level. Don't flick unnecessarily or aim kind of as micro flicky. We're kind of doing this where we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
moving around a little bit within this area. So try to stay on top of them unless you have a situation to actually flick.
Courtesy of the deadlock
Besides
zone.
that, target priority is a really big one. Target priority. Aim where you know people are. Or sorry, that's not the right one. Target priority is going to be make sure actually aiming at the easy targets to kill, right? Shoot at in general, tanks aren't the easy targets to kill. They're the hard ones. Shoot at tanks, and hard targets to kill if you have opportunities. They're low, they're out of position. If they're the only thing you can shoot at, but actively seek out the other characters so that you can actually get to them. And then also make sure you're just like if you have the equal opportunity, you're taking the right character to aim at, right? That
Mm-hmm.
really sets up your ability. You can have good mechanics and then shoot at tanks the entire time and not really do a ton, right?
Right.
So it really sets up your ability to actually accomplish things.
You need to learn the
That
rules.
overall mechanics, and then also reload habits, right? Don't we talked about left click versus, or sorry, unscope versus unscope like just a second ago, so I don't think we have to review. And then also just make sure you're not going pow 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 pow, pow with it, right? Because we'll kind of do this, and then we'll just waste a lot of our shots. Reload anytime you get the chance. Overall, probably a medium high category.
I stick
Moving
up for my
on
crew.
to
Leave this
positioning.
to me.
Positioning, make sure you're taking high grounds, just any chance you get it. Coach gun's really easy to get you up there, but then also just rotate there whenever you can. In between fights is a great time to do that. Take off angles. Off angles will get you to the targets you actually want to shoot at. And then besides that, make sure you're just generally using cover. Good positioning is used to cover. Bad positioning
You
is the
need
absence
to
of
learn
cover.
the rules.
Then I think that is about it. Overall, that'll, again, sets up your ability to actually go pew pew and shoot things. Probably say that therefore it goes to like a low end of a medium high. And then
Courtesy
finally,
of the
we
deadlock
have awareness. Awareness, pay attention to your health bar, request healing when you're low. Watch just generally what's going on around you, what's happening in kill feed. You up or down. 1 to 2 is a, how do you tell whether or not the fight's won or lost? 1 to 2, advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3, won or lost fight. Lost
Have to
fight, get
watch
off if you
out
can.
for
If you can't, let them
1%.
kill you. Don't use ults in win or lost fights, right? That sort of thing. Generally, pay attention to your surroundings as well. Listen, watch, be aware. Right, pay attention, look around when you hear a dragon, etc. And then overall, that one
Finish
probably
him
went
out
to
there.
a medium. So to put that all in order for you real quick, number 1 is your mechanics. Number 2
You
is
need
your
to learn the
positioning.
rules.
3 is awareness. 4 is ability usage. 5 is ultimate usage. Do you have any questions about anything that we've talked about or just anything else in general?
No, I don't know. Covered it all, I think.
Okay, sounds good with me. So I'm going to go